Mataji, can you get started?
Mataji, 1 more minute. I'm sending in all groups.
Okay.
Yeah, Mataji. Hare Krishna, everyone. Welcome to Bhakti Sangha. Today we are very fortunate to have Her Grace Radhika Kasturi Mataji to enlighten us on the topic of Isopanishad as we are doing it in sequence way. Today we are in the 9th verse. Mataji is going to enlighten us on the verse 9. Thank you, Mataji, for your sweet association. As usual, we are waiting for your presentation. Mataji, please take over from here.
Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna, dear devotees. First, let's go with our prayers. Let me start with Mataji, can you start the talk?
Mataji, we can start.
Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Namo Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prashtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamin Niti Namane. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschayata Deshatarine. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Thank you, dear devotees, for joining today's call. I first of all pray to all of you to bless me so that I'm able to speak the relevant words of Srila Prabhupada and our Acharyas. Hare Krishna. So, all right. So today's topic is about Vidya and Avidya. So last time, Vivek Prabhu happened to recap and talk about verse number 8, which talked about the Uttamadhikari devotees having the vision of Lord's divine qualities. And we saw that Lord was omnipotent, omniscient, he's without faults, he's without veins, he's the greatest of all, he is self-sufficient, he is fulfilling everyone's desire, he is pure and uncontaminated by sin. This is the vision that the Uttamadhikari has of Lord. Okay, and now we are going to see about what is the connection in regards to verse number 9, and then what is verse number 9 is something that we will discuss in today's episode. All right, dear devotees, let's get started. So we will all start now and try to understand what the relationship for verse 9 is all about. So mantra 3, if you look at it from previous chapters, we saw that mantra 3 specifically talked about what? The killer of soul, or non-devotees who do not understand the Ishavashya principle. So in number 9, now in today's class, we are going to see about 2 types of persons that are going to be described here. One is materially ignorant people, and the 2 is materially knowledgeable people. Now, going back to verse number 1 and 2, these are 2 essential verses that the whole Isopanishad is based off. So just to kind of give you all a recap, what is verse number 1? Verse number 1 talked about the point that everything should be looked at the prism of these 2 verses, specifically verse 1 and 2. So what is verse number 1? Everything belongs to God. And what is my relationship? What is, and in relationship to me, what is it that belongs to me? Nothing belongs to me. So no need to be greedy. I must see this. I must know that everything belongs to who? Everything belongs to God. And I must understand and remember all the time that God is in the center. I'm always in the periphery, outside. I'm not in the center. God is in the center. And I must surrender to him. And I must remember or know about him. So the second verse talks about the point that you must act. Knowing this, you must act accordingly. So these two things must be in our life for our life to be succeeded. What is the two things that we need? One is knowledge that everything belongs to God and He is the proprietor. So I'm not in the center, I'm in the periphery, and I must remember about this and I must act accordingly. So first is knowledge and second is activity. So these are the two things that connect and become bhakti. Because when I know Krishna in the center, what do? I naturally act for him. With this knowledge and understanding, I act in such a way that God is in the center, then that is bhakti. That is love. Whereas people are now going to the different extremes, which is what is leading to the issue. Hope you all get the context now. And now we will get started with today's verse, as Mataji is displayed. So here, does anybody want to read this verse? Antam tama pravishyat. Does anybody want to go ahead and read this verse?
Can Balavinda try?
Yes, try Balavinda.
Adyam tam Adiham tam pravashanti ye Vidyam upasate tato buddhya iva teto ye yo Vidyam Rataha. Thank you, Mataji.
Mataji, please.
No problem, no problem. Anybody else wants to try?
Yes, Mataji.
Go ahead, Sudevi.
Andham tama pravishanti ye vidyamupasate tato bhuya evati etamu yau vidyayamritaha.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Sudevi. Anybody else?
Yes, Mataji.
Mataji, can I say this is Mukund?
Yeah, Mukund, go ahead.
Okay, Mataji. Andham tamah pravishanti ye vidyamupasate tato bhuya evate tamo ya vidyamrata. Thank you, Mataji.
Very nice. Thank you, dear. So, what is the translation of this verse? So we can understand those who engage in the culture of nescient activities enter where? Enter into the darkest region of ignorance. And worse, still there are worse people than them. Who are those people? Those who are engaged in the culture of so-called knowledge. So this is what we are going to see in today's class. It's a very interesting verse, because this is the verse which acts as a foundation for future verses to come. So with attention, if you all listen, we can all really enjoy the class and make it relishable. Okay. Now, moving on to the next slide, we see what is avidya and what is vidya. Okay. So avidya or ignorance is undoubtedly dangerous, but vidya or knowledge that is misguided and it's not aimed at God realization is even more dangerous. So this is why it's even more dangerous. Why? Because we don't have the element of God in it. So in today's class, we will be discussing more about avidyayam upasate and about vidya. Okay. So let's move on to our next slide. Mataji, we can move on to the next slide. Yes. So how is Vidya worse than Avidya? So before that, I'm thinking, let's just take a pause here and let's just talk about the Avidya part. Okay. So let's all give some attention to what Avidya is. So now I'm going to explain you all a good concept so that you understand. So first of all, let me give you an introduction to 9th verse and then go to the Avidya concept. Okay. So it is declared today, if you look at today's society, we can see a lot of mental health problems, isn't it? It's the greatest challenge. So this is a serious problem. People are not at all happy. People go somewhere to the mall and they get shot, isn't it? This is very scary. So we cannot quantify happiness, because if you look at the statistics of the well-being of people in this country compared to few decades before or few centuries before, the stress level is high, depression is high, suicide rate is high, and addiction is also high. Just these four things have increased to a tremendous extent, enormously. So therefore, it is statistically proven that people are not happy at all. They may be very comfortable, of course. I'm not talking about comfortableness or how you live. No, not at all. People are comfortable very physically. They are very comfortable. They have a car, they have place to live, they have something to eat, no problem. But mentally, what is going on? They are suffering. So in the past, people have been, of course, they used to work in the fields where there was no electricity, because obviously they used to work under the sun, and because of that they used to sweat a lot. But nowadays people are sitting in the AC offices. We have a nice comfortable room. But again, because of stress, because of tension, what is going on? We are not at all happy. We are all sweating because of stress, so as to speak. So Srila Prabhupada, what is he trying to say? There are many books which is talked about statistically, and it has also talked about, many books are there about the proportion of stress, suicide, depression. But Prabhupada is very much explaining this point that stress on material advancement. Why is the stress on material advancement? Materially we are advancing so much, but that is actually culminating to what? That is culminating to stress. And Prabhupada is giving us an answer why it is actually culminating to stress. Because we are excluding one important element, that is the spiritual aspect. Spiritual aspect is completely forgotten. So it is not that we as ISKCON devotees, we are against the material progress that is happening in this world. What this particular verse is talking about is the point that it is excluding the spiritual aspect of life. That is why there is an imbalance here. And people have lots of things. Oh yeah, I have this gadget, that gadget, this cell phone, that cell phone. I have the newest version of the iPad, iPhone, all that we have. Yes, absolutely. But they don't give us happiness. So this is the point that we will be talking about in today's verse. So the technological power that we have has actually outrun the spiritual power, so as to speak. So, but then it is not leading us to the happiness that we are looking for. So Srila Prabhupada, he explains avidyam upasate. So now we are going to understand what is this? What is this avidya that Prabhupada is talking about? As I told you, we've seen the first verse, which is the Ishavashyam principle, that the absolute truth. What is the absolute truth? The Supreme Lord is the owner of everything. He is the controller of everything. The forgetfulness of this Ishavashyam principle is what is leading to avidya. So the practical implication is that the God is the controller, God is the enjoyer, God is the owner. That means these things that are there in this material world is not at all for our enjoyment. Take only what is meant for you and nothing beyond that. That is what Ishavashyam principle number 1 talks about, isn't it? So when I forget that God is the controller, what I do? I try to grab everything that I get into my hand. Oh yeah, look at this. This is an iPhone. This is an iPad. This is the car, latest model car. I try to grab everything and I want to enjoy. So the immediate result, when you start rejecting the God, when you don't have God in the center, leads to what? It leads to sense gratification. It leads to your enjoyment, isn't it? This enjoyment mentality is what is talked about in Bhagavad Gita. If you look at verse number 16.8 in Bhagavad Gita, it talks about, what does it talk about? It talks about the same point that we are talking about. Again, beyond karma, beyond sense enjoyment, there is nothing to this world. This is the purpose of our life. This is what we look at. Yes, sense gratification is the goal of our life. And that leads to actually degradation of thoughts, which actually leads to us rejecting God, which actually then results to cross sense gratification. And that is the consequence. As a result, what is happening to our lives when we don't have God in the center, and when we think karma is the focus, sense enjoyment is the purpose of our life, it actually leads to misery. And we are going to at least analyze and understand, why is it leading to misery? I want to be happy, isn't it? But why am I not able to be happy with these gadgets or with these phones or with the latest model house. I mean, I'm not latest model house, but latest model car or a big humongous house. Why am I not happy with these things? So let's just discuss and contemplate about it for a few minutes so as to understand more. Now, Mataji, maybe we can move on to the next slide. Oh, this is the next slide. Hare Krishna.
Mataji, continuing, and according to your speaking, I was changing the slide.
Oh, yeah, we have, okay. So when it comes to pursuit of sense gratification, so we talked about it, 99.9% of people, they actually perform activities of gross sense gratification under the flags of so-called industrialism, politicalism, activism, and so on and so forth. They are all worshippers of Avidya and they are called Mudas. Okay, so now we'll be actually delving into the understanding of why is this sense gratification not giving me happiness? Why am I not happy with it? I want happiness, and that is the goal of my life, isn't it? Anybody would say that I want to be happy. Not the devotee also wants to be happy, a non-devotee also wants to be happy. Everybody, demoniac also wants to be happy. But what is that happiness definition? It changes. When we are at the stage of a devotee, changes, and then a non-devotee, the definition of happiness changes, and then for a demoniac also the definition of happiness changes, isn't it? So let's understand. So this avidya, it means forgetfulness of God, and that means when we forget God, when we pursue sense gratification, what happens? What happens as a result of pursuing the sense gratification? Yes, when we pursue this, I get happiness. I get little happiness. But compared to the effort that I put in, the happiness is not so much. Okay, we crave for so many pleasures in this life. Okay, but how long these pleasures last for? I'll do this, I'll do that, I'll have to enjoy. This pleasure is actually lasting for only a few minutes, maybe a few hours. And if you build a big house, maybe it could last for a few months. But after that, what happens? That desire of you wanting to have more sense gratificatory desires doesn't subside. So what happens as a result? This is not satiated. Okay, the happiness is there, it lasts for some time, and then you move on, next desire. Okay, yes, fulfill the desire, happiness for short time, and then move on. Again, something happens to already, you probably built a house and that house was somehow destroyed or something happened, then you start lamenting over it because you have developed attachment to it. So this process of happiness and dukkha continues over and over, and you are entrapped, isn't it? The sense gratification, the so-called sense gratification, sometimes what happens is the happiness is defined as, oh yeah, relief from suffering. Yes, somehow I just got through this problem. Oh my God, it was such a bad day. I just felt so relieved because this guy, he didn't he did something quite contrary to what I thought he was going to do. That itself is a big relief. Yes. So happiness is so short-lived. Happiness is not sustainable. Happiness is not satiating. So in this way, we can keep on saying, and then it follows dukkha, because now you get attached to what you already got. Once it goes away, then you feel there is lamentation. So this cycle of material desires and your sense gratification keeps going on and on and on. There's no end to it because it's not going to be satiated, and you're going to be tied to this loop over and over and over, isn't it? Such a waste of our time, such a waste of everything that we do in our life, in our material life, if Krishna is not in the center, which is the point that Srila Prabhupada is stressing. Okay, when we talk about the sense gratification itself becoming a religious activity for people. Profitless pursuit of sense gratification. I really like that term that Srila Prabhupada is using. He's using this term, profitless pursuit of sense gratification, because these people, it's not at all giving any profit. And it's becoming a religious activity for those people who take it very seriously. Now, we all have got this experience of material happiness. And material happiness is always connected to some external events. So we actually receive something and then rejoice over it, and then we become happy. And then there are circumstances in life that we've developed and where we want to repeat this happiness over and over and over. It's all external circumstances that is leading to happiness, isn't it? But again, whatever be the external circumstance, no matter what, the devotee is so happy inside. No, there could be so many things going on, calamities after calamities, so many disturbing situations happening around the world. But the devotee, absolutely, he doesn't have any issues of all of that, but internally he's so happy in his state of mind. So happiness is the state of mind. So when the soul actually unites with the Lord, what happens? He feels the participation with the Lord. And this happiness is quite contradicting to all the material happiness that is experienced in this world on an everyday basis. This happiness, first of all, it doesn't depend on external circumstance. Unless a materialist, he is actually looking for happiness based on an external event, isn't it? Any external event, he has won a lottery. Yes, he's very happy. How long the happiness lasts for? Maybe a few hours, maybe a few days. After that, what? Next lottery ticket. No, you're not winning. Oh, suffering. Then next lottery ticket. No winning. Again, you become bad-tempered. This is what happens with the materialist. So it's actually tying to an external event or an external circumstance. This is how he is dependent on his happiness. Yeah, I get a lot of fame. I'm very happy about it. This way he's externally relating himself to the circumstance, to the things, gadgets, and all these things. But when you look at a devotee, he is internally looking for happiness in him. This is the point, dear devotees. So whatever worship which is meant towards God, if it is directed towards some other people, some other things, then that becomes a problem. This is what is avidyayam upasate. We have nothing against politicians or movie stars or sports people. But what happens as a result of this is that we are actually putting the pedestal of God down because of our ignorance. And this is the misuse of human intelligence that is given to us. We are treating people who have riches, who are having a lot of money, or famous people like sports stars and movie stars to be gods. This is very practical these days. Students are addicted watching these cricket games back in India, or even here for that matter. And they, or football, I think the basketball, maybe that is popular here. But either way, some sort of addiction is there. And they look to them as role models, isn't it? So here, Srila Prabhupada is talking about avidyayam upasate. That's the point that he's bringing about. So thinking of some other materialistic people to be role models, what will happen? Yam yam vapi smaran bhavam. We know. Yam yam vapi smaran bhavam tyajatyante kalevaram. Tam tam evaiti kaunteya sada tadbhava bhavitaha. Krishna, he describes in the 8th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, whatever you're going to think at the time of death, that is what is going to determine your next destination. So this is very important, isn't it? When we start to focus on these movie stars or sports stars, what happens at the end of the day? We will continue on this material existence. This loop will continue on and on and on. There is going to be no end to it. And as a result, what's going to happen to our consciousness? The consciousness is going to be material consciousness. It's going to be sensual. It's going to be immoral, because there's no sort of philosophical ideas that's going on, because the spirituality is absolutely missing with regards to your intelligence. This is what is ignorance. Avidyayam upasate. So now the problem in spiritual practice, since we are obviously in this material world, especially now, it's a very difficult time when spiritual practice is not a priority for most people in this life, isn't it? So they don't have good role models to look at. If I turn around, I probably see some rich people around. They are trying to make their livelihood very nice, increase the material advancement, and increase, obviously giving more opportunities for people to work and things of that nature, where I can probably look up to him. And if I take him as a role model, I may probably earn earn much more than what I'm making now. If I have the other person next door as my role model, then that's what I will probably get to. So in fact, the problem here is that we need good role models. When we look around, we rarely see people who live a full life, who are successful in all respects, both spiritually and materially. Even if we were to consider materially successful people, they have to be spiritually also successful. That is the point. That is the point Srila Prabhupada is bringing about. It's not the material advancement is actually a problem. Material advancement is not the problem, but the missing of the spiritual aspect of God is a problem. That's a big problem. So now we are actually going to talk about 3 kinds of ignorance. All right, so very important. In the purport, Srila Prabhupada is actually bringing out this distinction between 3 kinds of ignorance. So I would want you all to listen carefully here to understand the distinctions, because Prabhupada makes a beautiful point out of this, and I want all of you to relish that. Okay, so now the first kind of ignorance. What is the first kind of ignorance? He talks about godless education, as I told you. So what is bad about modern education that we can understand? There is 3 degrees of ignorance. So the first degree of ignorance is that if I'm driving alone on a street, I don't know what the traffic rules are. I'm very bad at traffic rules and regulations. Okay, so it's an ignorance, isn't it? Ignorance is not bliss. If you're ignorant, obviously there's going to be an accident, and you're going to meet with an accident if you don't know the rules. So the point here that Srila Prabhupada makes is that I should have moral responsibility. I should have legal responsibility to know the laws when I'm driving on the street. If I don't know that, then that is bad. So this is the first point. To be in ignorance is bad. Okay, but even worse than that are the second category of people. That is the second kind of ignorance. What is the second kind of ignorance? To claim to be in knowledge is worse. That means I have no knowledge, but I actually think I have knowledge. That's a problem. So this is the second kind of ignorance that Srila Prabhupada is talking about. So there is a distinction. The first case, this person actually doesn't know the laws and regulations. Okay, so as a result of not knowing the laws and regulations, he is ignorant. These second kind of people, they actually don't know anything, but they think I know it. That's an even greater problem. So I don't know. So an example could be talked about, isn't it? I say, okay, actually, I don't know the way to go to a particular place, but I actually drag this person. Come with me. So not only I'm misled, but I'm also misleading others. Yes, come my way. So he's actually talking about these non-theistic scientists. This means the scientists who talk about the material world and completely actually exclude God. God doesn't matter at all to these people, non-theistic people. Non-theistic means they don't believe in the God. The whole creation actually ultimately leads towards God. If we understand how cosmology works, the whole creation actually ultimately leads towards God. And without God, nothing would work here. It is actually working very nicely as if nobody is operating, but then God does it so nicely that he's not only creating it, he's maintaining it for us, and he is also at the end of the day responsible for the destruction of this whole universe. So this is how it works. And these people, they actually diverse God from the world, and they try to focus on studying this world alone. How does this world operate? How can we improve this world? And how can we actually make the people happy? There's no need to bring God in. Where is God? No, just take him to the side or ignore him completely. This is what they do. Because without God, if you're going to enjoy the kingdom of God, it is not going to work. It is not going to work because the world is ultimately meant for the service of whom? For the service of God. So this is the second kind of ignorance. Still we are in Avidya. We haven't come to the Vidya part yet. I'm going to talk about the third kind of ignorance. So still we are in Avidya, okay? So now the second kind of ignorance is what? I have no knowledge, but I actually think I know. So this is the second kind of ignorance. The first kind of ignorance is I don't know anything. The second kind is, I have no knowledge, but I actually think I know something. Third kind of knowledge is even more dangerous. And what is that? It's so scary, isn't it? To be in ignorance itself is scary. But anyways, the third kind of ignorance is to be in ignorance and to claim to be in knowledge, like the second person, and actually condemn the real knowledge of ignorance. Okay, so the real knowledge is being condemned here. This person, he actually claims to be knowledge, which is not the right knowledge, and he actually condemns the real knowledge. Isn't it a bigger problem? So, so let's try to look at the example for now. I'm here right now, I'm going this way, I'm actually going the right way to my house. So somebody is coming my way and he's saying, I'm going in the wrong way. Okay, not only claiming that he's on the right way, he wants to drag me also to the wrong way. I'm going in the right way, but the problem is this guy is dragging me and making me come in the wrong way. This is the worst kind of ignorance. Now, Srila Prabhupada, he tries to give an example. Scientists, they try to study an example. The study of science leads them towards God, but away from God. This is the point. The science is not leading them towards God, but it's actually leading them away from God. So this is the worst of all. This is the greatest ignorance. So this is kind of education where godless education is there. It keeps people in great ignorance and keeps them away from God. So science, what is it doing? It is taking you away from God. Isn't it worse? We see this person, if he's staying neutral, that is okay, but he's not even staying neutral. He wants to take people away from God. That is the problem with the modern day scientists. So this is the misfortune of today's educational environment. So we will see as a result, what is going to happen to people. Moral values are going to slide down and people will have a lot of technological advancements. No dearth to that, but they will have little moral power. And little moral power, they would also have little willpower. Willpower means what? To control. They can't control. They will be offensive. This is godless education. People will not have moral power. What does it mean? They will stab on each other's foot. Each person will try to push the other person down and they will try to come up in the ladder. No moral values. They will try to cheat. All the 4 defects would be abused to the maximum possible extent. This is what this ignorance is going to lead us to. This godless education is leading in that path. So it's very important that we actually are tuned, continue in our path of Krishna consciousness and inspire as many people as possible. That is why Srila Prabhupada, we just have 10,000 years in our pocket. And Kali Yuga has not even, Sandhya period is going on. Kali Yuga has not even started, isn't it? Yuga Sandhya is what is going on. That itself is pretty worse. And imagine how Kali Yuga, the actual Kali Yuga would be. This is very scary, dear devotees. We are in the urgency mode and we have to act in an urgent way. That is the point. All right, so now I'm thinking let's just go and talk through the slides just from an Avidya perspective to see if everything is covered. Okay, we talked about the mental issues. The next slide, demoniac mentality, because the world is trending that way, right? 16.8, asatyam apratishtamte jagadahuranishwaram apparaspara sampudam kimanyat kama haitukam. Demoniacs say the world is unreal with no foundation, no God in control, right? Yes, we discussed about this point. And then sense gratification, we talked about it to a great extent. And then now we are going to come to Vidya. So Vidya is also dangerous, which is more dangerous than even Avidya. And now we are going to see why is this more dangerous than even Avidya. Avidya means ignorance. And now Vidya means, what is this? This means material knowledge. Okay, doesn't have the spiritual component, and that is why it is even more dangerous. Those who help such godless civilization by their so-called advancement of material education are doing more harm than the gross sense gratifiers who are ignorant or less educated. Mundane Vidya that neglects the spiritual aspect of life makes the person unhappier than ever before So it is even more dangerous. Now I'm just going to explain what Srila Prabhupada is talking about in the purport, and then we will go to the next theme. All right. So let's just maybe delve into this topic, understand what is this Vidya, and then we will go to the next next one, so as to speak. So again, the point here that Srila Prabhupada is talking about in the purport is that technology is used in many ways. Again, he says technology itself is not bad, but what is it promoting? It is actually promoting sense gratification, because what are these people trying to do? They are trying to remove God from the picture. The third type of ignorant people, they are trying to take away God from the picture. So for example, television is there. Television has good sides and bad sides, isn't it? I mean, obviously, if you take internet for that matter, internet has good sides and bad sides. So people who are spiritually inclined, they would probably go browse, use it for Krishna conscious purpose, get some spiritual knowledge. But how many people actually do that? Even devotees are tempted to actually abuse internet, isn't it? This is not spontaneous sense gratification is seen in us, and this is the tendency we have, which is what we need to overcome, the spontaneous sense gratification, where we need to actually consciously make an effort to go into Krishna conscious sites and just use it for that purpose and try to get out of it after that. This control is needed. We need to be determined, and we need to have that control in the how persistently am I using this internet? How persistent, meaning how many times in a day do I succumb, and how many times during the day I put an effort, and over a period of time, am I actually progressing or regressing? Meaning, if I'm succumbing many times during the day, and if I'm not improving over a period of time, that means I have to be put on some diet. Diet means not using computer for quite some time, which can be annoying. But anyways, I'm just going to the extreme. All we need to obviously monitor our usage and see how much are we degrading or progressing. How much are we using for Krishna conscious versus non-Krishna conscious things. So this is something we must keep a watch of. So that is important. Again, if you look at the children, they don't even have this mental willpower. They don't even know what is good and what is bad, isn't it? Some unfiltered content is there seen in the internet. They just click on it, and what happens as a result? They may be accessing something that is psychologically damaging to them. So this exposure of content is very damaging, isn't it? And again, if you look at children, there is a possibility for them to get addicted also. Youth are addicted to so many things, and the worst case, we've seen cases where they are too much addicted and not even wanting to eat, sleep because of the internet usage. Definitely statistics I've seen in the website. So now there is, as we can see, technology, advanced technology, computers, internet. Was it being useful, or is it something laudable? This material knowledge, this material technology is considered meant to promote sense gratification. That is why Prabhupada calls it godless education. Vidyayam vritaha. So we have to be careful with this Vidya component, because this Vidya component is without God, and hence it is creating a lot of problems. So we have to really be watchful of that Vidya. All right, next slide, Mataji. Thank you. So now Prabhupada talks about two analogies here. So one analogy is that of a cobra, another is that of a dead body. So with regards to cobra, he says, learning from godless people is dangerous as a jewel on the hood of cobra. A cobra decorated by a jewel is more dangerous than one which is not decorated. So this is what Prabhupada is trying to caution us to say, that we need to be very careful of these so-called learned people, because they are more dangerous. But what happens with those people? The problem there, as we go back to our NOI 2 and NOI 3, we are supposed to not get along with those materialistic people, isn't it? the problem there, what happens is that we start to borrow their ideologies, isn't it? When we start to associate with them, it creates problems. And hence we have to be more careful when it comes to association. Now, dead body. What is Prabhupada saying here? Godless education is like a decoration on a dead body. What's the use of actually decorating a dead body? No use. Similarly, if you just have godless education, and if you don't have Krishna consciousness, or if you don't have Krishna consciousness in your life, then it's a waste. Shrama eva hi kevalam. That's what it is. This is what Hari Bhakti Sudodaya states, 3.11.12. Now, purpose of Vedic education. What is the purpose? To know the Supreme Lord Krishna. That is the purpose of that is the purpose of Vedic education, to awaken God consciousness, as stated in mantra 1. As I told you, mantra 1 and mantra 2 are the basis of all other, or all other Isopanishad verses. So the point is that God is the controller, God is the proprietor, and God is the center of everything. We should have that in the mind, and when we work with that mindset, then there is no problem. Then ultimately, what is going to happen to us is that we are going to go back, and the part is going to be connected to the whole. To revive this forgetful soul's lost relationship with the God is the purpose of this Vedic education. So it is very important, dear devotees, to understand and obviously assimilate this Vedic instruction. And now, so we will be looking into the, I think the third aspect, isn't it? Third theme of, we can go to the next slide, Mataji. Hare Krishna. So the real educator means he has to approach a bona fide guru to understand the Vedic messages. Obviously, a person who knows this knowledge is the one who can transmit us and help us understand that knowledge, isn't it? And that is whom we have to go to. And we have a great parampara, and we need to seek knowledge from our spiritual master so that he can impart that spiritual knowledge to us. So this is the point, dear devotees, that is being conveyed through this slide, real educator. Now we are actually going on to talk about the next theme, which is Vedavada Rathas. Who are these people? These are people who actually pose themselves as learned in the Vedas. They are diverted from the purpose of the Vedas. They are fascinated by the fruitive results of the Vedic rituals. So now we will understand, what does this mean, Mataji? I really don't understand. What are you talking about? So the third theme is the religiistic materialists. So these are Vedavada Rathas. What do? They actually pose themselves learned in Vedic literature, but unfortunately they are completely diverted from the purpose of Vedas. Matajis and Prabhujis, just 1 second. I'm getting a call for the past 5-10 minutes. I'm ignoring, but people keep calling me. 1 second. I'll just... Hare Krishna, dear devotees, I'm so sorry. I actually locked the front door, and my husband is not the front door, but the garage door. I closed it because I was staying alone. Can I go and just unlock it and come? Because he's actually waiting for the past 10 minutes.
It's just Mataji, please. Prabhuji,
I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Very nice class was going on. Let Prabhuji get inside the home, so Mataji will continue the class. Yes,
Hare
Mataji.
Krishna. I'm so sorry, Mataji.
No worries at all, Mataji. Please continue.
All right. So these people are Vedavada Rathas that we were talking about. And the point in Bhagavad Gita, which is spoken about, is that Vedavada Rathas are men that is not interested in the personality of Godhead. On the contrary, what are they fascinated by? They are fascinated by the fruitive results of going to the heavenly planets and so on and so forth. So, but we know from 15.15, what is that verse? Sarvasya chaham kriti sannivishto matta smritirjnanam apohanam cha vedaishya sarvairahameva vidyo vedanta krit veda videha chaham. What does it say? I am seated in everyone's heart, and from me comes what? Remembrance, knowledge, and forgetfulness. But by all the Vedas, who's to be known? I am to be known. Indeed, I am the compiler of the Vedanta, and I am the knower of the Vedas, says Krishna. So this is what Krishna says. From me comes the knowledge and forgetfulness, and by the Vedas, Krishna is to be known. Krishna is the compiler of the Vedanta, and he is the knower of the Vedas. So it's very important. These people, they don't have the conception of anything beyond the material. Because they don't have the conception of anything beyond the material, what happens? They cannot achieve anything beyond the material. Even if they achieve some result, even if they get some enjoyment, the enjoyment is going to be again temporary. Again, it will be lost, as we saw before. So even in the heavenly planet, what would happen? After your pious credits are done, you're going to come back. Even if they attain prosperity, the prosperity is not eternal. Because nothing in this material world is what? Eternal. The human form of life can be used to attain something eternal. It is possible. But if you're after temporary, you'll get only temporary. That's how unfortunate these people are. If we recognize the value of material knowledge that is given to us, it is valuable. But if we think that is all is the knowledge, then it's a problem. Vedas are supposed to give us the spiritual knowledge. And if we deprive ourselves of the spiritual knowledge, which is the essential gift of the Vedas, we are depriving ourselves of everything. If we are just absorbed in the rituals of the Vedas that are meant for the material enjoyment, then you're going to get only that kind of, probably you'll go to the heavenly planets and then come back. This is what is the third theme, which is the Vedavada Rathas. All right. And now we have self-made gods. These people are where they think themselves to be God. There's no need of worshipping any other gods. I am God. They are Mayavadis, right? They worship an ordinary rich man, but not God, to get the job done. In material, I mean, if you look at the materialistic people's attitude, what can I get from this person? How can I actually bring him down? What is it in store for me that I can get? I mean, I can try to get from this person. If I do this, maybe I will get something in exchange. This is the mentality of the materialistic people, isn't it? Oh yeah, if I give a $50 gift card, maybe I should get $100 in return. If this person, he doesn't give $100 to me, then I'll see. So that is the nature of this materialistic world and materialistic people, so as to speak. All right, so the next slide, Mataji. Okay, so we will be summarizing after that, isn't it? So yeah, we'll go through that summary slide, but essentially what did we cover so far? Srila Prabhupada talked about Avidya being simple, I mean ignorance, and Vidya being so-called knowledge that people are given in this modern universities. Ignorant people, they are in darkness, but people who have actually received a degree or a material education, they become academicians or professors, they will be in greater darkness. Okay, and Srila Prabhupada proves the point that education in this modern world are like atom bombs. The sins are committed more and more and more, and ignorant workers, they would have never they would have never imagined these type of sins. But they keep committing because they are put into such sort of environment where people, if you get successful with a mission in a project, then probably you are asked to go out and have a drink or so, just to be social. This is what is goodness for them. So those who go to the universities who have Vidya, they actually fall into greater ignorance. And the whole world is plunging there. This is undeniable. Prabhupada therefore gives an example of a snake and cobra. He says the jewel on snake's head becomes dangerous, and knowledge in the hands of an ignorant or an unenlightened person is even dangerous. Because the whole world will be immersed in ignorance. Because what will happen? People will start thinking that person to be the role model. And because of treating this person to be a role model, others also are going to go down. So now we need a Dhira or a spiritual master who should actually give us the correct understanding of the knowledge and help us understand what is this ignorance. If you look at it, this material world puts material goals in front of us. Our life is very difficult. We are under a lot of pressure, under a lot of stress. People sometimes think, yeah, spirituality is there. It's an option. If I have free time, I will do it. If I don't have free time, then this particular activity, the so-called japa, whatever it is, devotional activity, I can probably neglect it. If I have free time, I will do maybe a little bit here and there. We must understand no one is removed from the pressure from inside. But we should understand a very important point, that man has spiritual needs. We are souls by nature. We are not just a lump of matter. We have a need to realize ourselves in the spiritual life. We have a need to have a spiritual dimension to our lives. And if we achieve success in all other areas in our lives, maybe we become rich, we have a wonderful family, we achieve a lot of things creatively, a person will not be happy because there is no spiritual dimension in his life. We are spirit souls. Understand this point, dear devotees. This is what Mantra 9 is trying to tell us. We definitely have to have an understanding of what is real knowledge and what is ignorance, so that we are able to consciously decide what is right and what is wrong. And this is a very important realization that Prabhupada is giving us through the purport of verse number 9. So I think as you can see, as Mataji is portraying in the slide, we can see what is danger, what is ignorance, what is Vidya versus Avidya. And we talked about Avidya and a modern civilization, more advancement, but people are still unhappy. And what is real Vidya? The Supreme Lord is the proprietor of everything. Ishavashyam, verse number 1. What is real Avidya? Forgetfulness of this fact that God is the controller. That is Avidya. And then we saw examples of Avidya. And then there are now categories of Avidya people. We saw the Mudas, and then mundane educators, Vedavada Rathas, and then self-made God. They are the categories of Avidya. So now, and then, so that's in the gross sense gratifiers. We see there is four subdivisions there. One who works like very hard, and then their learning is very dangerous, like a gobrachual. And then the materialistic education that you have without the spiritual component to it is considered as if you're a dead body, isn't it? And patchwork is actually needed to cover the miseries of materialistic existence. And then we saw self-made gods. So this is the slide. After that, we have another slide to conclude. Mataji, you can move. Yeah, Vedavada Rathas. What are these people? These people, they pose learned, but they are diverted from the actual purpose. They are not at all interested in this personality of Godhead, but they are fascinated by heaven, going to the heavenly planets. What do? They misinterpret Vedic literature. They condemn Puranas, and they fall further down than the ignorant. And they neglect the Acharya saying, and they present unscriptural men as Acharyas. So this is the point, mundane educators. All right, so with this, we can conclude today's session. Thank you so much, dear devotees, for patiently listening to this class. And sorry about in between I had to get down. And I really appreciate all of your time. Vancha kalpatarubhyasya kripasindubhyeva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Hare Krishna, Jai Srila Prabhupada. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dhanavad Pranam, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much, Mataji, for explaining what is Vidya and Avidya and Vedavada Rathas. So Vidya is more dangerous than Avidya, and Vedavada Rathas are also dangerous because they think themselves they are great or they know everything. But then the real essence to know everything is to do the sacrifices on the name of Krishna, and also know that Krishna is the supreme. So if they are forcing themselves to be known as everything, but then if they are not following what scriptures are saying, then that means they don't know anything. So we should be very careful to not to get associated with the cobra, which is having full of jewel in it. It is very dangerous to associate with cobra. And also you gave an example of a dead body. To decorate a dead body is useless. So if we don't have a knowledge of Krishna consciousness, or a knowledge of that, how we can go back to Godhead, who am I, engage ourselves in Krishna consciousness, then whatever education that we are getting today in this material world is going to be useless, because it's only on the platform of body, which is not going to take us anywhere. Even this so-called education is not giving us anything except the misery, because so much of stress, so much of anxiety. So this is all there. To escape from this, only we need spiritualization. That is why, this suicide and everything is happening, that you have explained us very clearly. Thank you, Mataji, for such a beautiful class. Hari bol. And sorry
Beautiful.
if I did not project anything properly, because I was not able to understand which you are speaking.
Beautiful, Mataji. Thank you so much. At least I was able to, you were able to project something. If not, I have not projected anything. So I really appreciate all your help in the technology part, and beautiful summary, Mataji. It was awesome. You covered the whole gist in a very nice way. Thank you so much, Mataji.
You explained very nicely, Mataji. Hari bol.
Hari bol. Any questions, dear devotees? Yes, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji, please go ahead.
Hare Krishna, Mataji, Dandavata Pranam. Such an amazing class, Mataji. A lot of messages. Thank you very much. Mataji, what is true happiness, and how to get it? That is my question, Mataji.
Yes, Prabhuji. So what the true happiness is, when you selflessly serve Krishna, Krishna through his mercy, he will give us happiness. And that happiness is true happiness. Because we give pleasure to Krishna without actually expecting the pleasure. That actually makes Krishna so happy that he will shower mercy upon you. And that will be felt as satisfaction in our hearts. And that is the real happiness that we would have. And as we advance through the stages, we would understand what that means. So for that, we have to consistently, in a determined way, perform the sadhana that is given to us. And when we do it, Krishna will actually look, yes, this devotee, no matter what, even though I'm not giving him taste or anything, he's still continuing to perform whatever I have given him in a very nice way. And Krishna will acknowledge that, and he will say, yes, take this mercy from me. And this is what will be experienced in a life of a devotee. So Shubhada, Klesha and Shubhada, right? Kleshagni and Shubhada. Shubhada is auspiciousness. As a result of following these Krishna conscious process in a very systematic way, in a consistent way, in a persistent way, when we follow through, he will first give us the joy of material happiness, and slowly this material happiness will transcend, and it will go to Brahmananda and finally Prema also. So first, it will be the joy in the form of material happiness that Krishna will give, because he brings auspiciousness to this life because of us performing Krishna consciousness. And when he sees us consistently over and over, consistently performing the sadhana in a very nice way, then he is going to give us the Ananda of Brahmananda. You have not even, probably you are still in the stage of Nishta, Ruchi, somewhere around that, you'll be getting that feeling of Brahmananda. And after that, we will be getting Prema when we go after Bhava. So this is the happiness. The happiness is a state of mind. And happiness means that is felt in the heart. And the soul experiences real happiness. And this will be given by the mercy of Krishna. And this is what the devotees hanker for. So many people, they have all given up their material life completely, meaning they have all devoted their life completely as sannyasis for the movement. Why? Because they are getting something. And that will be got even by us if we consistently try for it. And Krishna promises through the scriptures that that will be got. But our point is that we have to selflessly work for the pleasure of Krishna. Now, the point here is that in this material world, even though we are performing devotional activities, what happens is this the name, fame, glory aspect still is very much attracted even to a devotee. So we need to get over that stage where we are not after name, fame, people, followers, and things like that. Na dhanam, na janam, na sundarim. I don't want any of those. When we come to that state, that happiness will be felt. Till that time, when we are expecting something in return, the happiness will not be to the extent experienced. But when we start completely doing it for the pleasure of Krishna, for the purpose of the devotees, then Krishna will definitely look at it and he will award you the results accordingly. Ye tamam prapatyanti principle. Accordingly, he will definitely acknowledge you. Hope it answers your question, Prabhuji.
Very nicely, Mataji. Mataji, also you said that current yuga or current time, we are actually materially very good progressing and everything is going good, but we are not keeping the Lord in the center, and that is making the problem. And also you said, like example, like in olden days or few decades before, like farmers, they used to work in the sun and all, and they were happy, they were doing their work, and they used to eat and be happy. But now in the current age, like everyone is talking about the education, so-called education, but in real sense, that is not education. So how we can inculcate this in our children? Because we have already like 50s and all, so we already like in the path of ending our this thing, because in this current age, even 100 years we so-called say, but even diseases are behind us, and anytime anything can happen, and we are watching also many devotees leaving the world. So how this Vidya or true knowledge we can pass it on to our children? Because Avidya is there everywhere, even in the phone, even in the gadgets, even in the so-called whatever you say. So how we can inculcate true Vidya to our...
The first thing is, Prabhuji, without even going there, first we have to have that loving affection with our kids. That is the essential thing. So once we develop that favorableness and loving affection towards our kids, then what happens is your bond becomes strong, isn't it? So when your bond actually becomes strong, this kid of yours is going to listen to whatever you say. He develops faith in you because of the loving bond. We need to develop that trust and favoritism towards our kids. This is the point. They can be into so many things. Of course, this world is so distracted and it is disturbing everyone. But the point is, when we shower love upon our kids, what happens in turn is there is a possibility for them to listen to us. And when they are going to give their ears to us, at that time we can tell them, yes, obviously this is not good. And obviously, I don't know how old is your child or kid, and if he's from this young age, it is better to involve them into Krishna consciousness as much as possible. But if not, if it's already time and you joined late in the process, I believe that is the case with you. Is it, Prabhuji?
Like my son is studying in second year engineering and daughter in 9th standard.
Oh, okay. So they came to know about Krishna consciousness later.
Like from childhood, they are in Krishna consciousness, luckily by Guru and Gauranga Mercy.
Oh, then there's no problem, Prabhuji.
The outside world is so attractive, Mataji.
Outside, see how we are all coming together. This is the only way, Prabhuji. Since they have to be put into the youth camps. They have to be in the like-minded association, and obviously have friends who are also devotee kids, so that each one can inspire from others. And this is the way we can. Association is the best then, since they've been there into this Krishna conscious movement from the young age. I don't see it a problem, because even if they go astray, Krishna is going to bring them back. He's going to give them remembrance about how nice you had a great time having great satsang, great kirtan, great Krishna katha. So he's going to give them those kind of memories, which is going to still pull them back to Krishna consciousness. Krishna is all attractive, so he will definitely make sure that even if they divert a little bit, they are going to come back. There is no Neha Bikramana Asosti principle is definitely going to work. There's no issue there. But as much as possible as parents, we just guide them, because now that they are all grown-ups, we have to treat them like friends and then give them, these are the things so we have for the plan for the weekend. Are you interested? If they are interested, they are going to join. And if they say no, give them a leeway. And then whenever they are comfortable, whenever next time when you have time, why don't you join us, like that? We have to give some room and develop that trust and loving relationship with them, and then get the things done. This is the only way that is possible with the kids. And if we are trying to become the boss or the controller, then it's going to be a little, if they are young, that's okay. But then as they get old, we just have to go and work on this principle of giving love and then expecting some sort of reciprocation later. But Krishna
Great.
has plans for each and every one, Prabhuji. We have to definitely believe in that as
True.
well.
True. Thank you, Mataji. Very nicely answered.
Thank you.
And
Prabhuji.
ultimate last this thing to Mataji. Nadanam, Najanam, Nasundaram. This happens in this life, Mataji, because I
Yes.
have.
So if you look at Manasiksha, Prabhuji, this Prana Pratishta, I mean, the asa for name, fame, glory, this is there subtly. So now what are we looking at? We are looking at our gross anarthas. So, but as we delve deeper and deeper, when we advance, then we will start looking into the inner aspects of the inner subtleties of name, fame, and glory. That also is a hindrance to bhakti. We will recognize that. Now we are looking, now we are thinking, this greed, it is bothering me. This lust, that is bothering me. As we progress, then you will think, this fame, that is actually bothering me. In the sense, I don't want a fame. I just, if you aspire for it, obviously, then you recognize that as an anartha. This happens as you advance. What are you really for? When you are into this preaching movement, so many people, they glorify you. And if you take these glories to be yours, then that is a problem in your devotional service. We understand that. Raghunathas Goswami is saying very clearly in Manasiksha that this is one of the last things that will come in your life. And you have to be very careful and be watchful of it. So it will definitely happen, Prabhuji, as we advance. So we definitely have to have trust in our acharyas, because they are definitely guiding us. Be careful about that anatta, that subtle form of anatta as well. You have to be careful of.
Thank you, Mataji. Thank you very much.
Hare Krishna. Sudevi?
Yes, Mataji.
Sudevi, you're so young. Oh my God. How old are you, dear?
6.5.
Please. You're such a sweetheart. I can't imagine. Tell me, what's your question?
I love the class, and I like the points that always how you explained about Vidya and Avidya, the difference, and how always kids get attracted to YouTube. That happens with me too.
Oh, but you are looking into Krishna conscious stuff, I believe.
Yes, Mataji. Some mom struggling and trying, but I'm always getting attracted to YouTube. So all the kids that get attracted to YouTube, and they spoil, and how Vidya is how is it more dangerous than Avidya? Because if it's so called, then it's more dangerous. And how?
So Vidya is more dangerous than Avidya, because this person, he has some knowledge, and that is a misguided knowledge. So somebody has misguided knowledge, it's a problem now. Somebody is ignorant of something, but then this person, he has this knowledge, but it's all wrong. Then that is an even more problem, isn't it? Say, for example, you are going to...
famous example for this. One child goes to music, they go to learn
exactly,
some music.
Mridangam class.
And then the person who knows a little bit of that, he charges 100, and the person who don't know anything, he charges 50. Then how come you do that when you have all the wrong knowledge, right? I have to remove that knowledge and give you. And for this person, he has zero knowledge, so I can give him easily. So that is very easy for me. But then you have some knowledge which is wrong, have to remove that knowledge. It's very hard to remove that knowledge. So that is why it is said Vidya is more dangerous than Avidya. Even in case of like as you know, if Srila Prabhupada says that, right, Indians are very hard to convince to come into Krishna consciousness, whereas Americans very easy because they don't know who is Krishna, they don't know what is it. If you say something, they are taking it, accepting it. But we know, okay, Krishna, we know many gods, and why we have to accept only Krishna? So our head is so 100 things are there in our head already in God consciousness. So it is very hard to for us accept that Krishna is only the supreme, as Prabhupada also says. That right, Mataji? So I was just
Yes, absolutely, you're right. Absolutely, Mataji said right. So Devi, did you understand the point that Vinita Mataji was bringing about?
Yes, Mataji, and
You
I
understand everything for 6-year-old. Oh my God.
the question that does the Vedavada that the people they think that they'll go to heavenly planets, so that do they really go to heavenly planets? I think the purpose of
Sometimes when they perform the Vedic rituals in a way that is prescribed in the Vedas, then yes. If they don't do it properly, then they won't. If they do, then they will. Depending upon their piety, they will go. So if they're doing some pious activities in a Veda prescribed way, if they do it, then they will go. If not, no.
okay, Mataji, I understood.
Okay, very nice, dear Sudevi. All right. So any other questions? Are we good? Thank you. I think Vinita Mataji, we are good, isn't it? Vinita Mataji, can we adjourn? Okay, Mataji is not here probably. We can all adjourn. Avancha kalpatarubhyasya kripa sindhubhya evacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Ananta Koti Vaishnav Vrind ki jai, Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Gaur Bhakta Vrind ki jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Hare Krishna. Thank you, dear devotees.
Thank you,
Hare
Mataji.
Krishna. Thank you so
Very
much,
good.
Mataji, for such a wonderful session, Mataji. Hare Krishna. So
Oh,
nice to
Hare
hear from you
Krishna.
after such a long time. Hare Bol.
Thank you. Thank you, Indu Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Bye-bye.
We'll end the call here. Thank you, all dear devotees. Vinita Mataji, please take over. Hare Krishna.
I think for some reason Vinita Mataji is not able to talk. Hopefully, we can.
Yes,
Okay,
Mataji, I was not able to unmute. Thank you, Mataji. So we can close the call here, right, Mataji?
Yes, we are done.
Thank you, everyone, for